Breaking news, the Seidler family now considering selling the San Diego Padres. Joining us now, Kevin Acee with UT with what this means going forward. Kevin, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Raul.
Did the announcement surprise you, or is there a lot of writing on the wall in your opinion? You're around the team a lot.
How about both? I mean, the timing can catch you off guard, but when I found out yesterday, it was like, oh, yeah, okay. And then everyone I've talked to, this was something that, as I wrote this morning, is a specter that hung over the Padres since, the death of Peter, which, by the way, is 2 years ago tomorrow. And then certainly the lawsuit by Sheila Seidler, Peter's widow, complicates things. I have not ascertained how that figures into this. But the fact is, the bottom line is, once Peter died, Peter was the driving force in the family's involvement. And Peter is the one who owned far and away the most of any member of the family. And so, this is an expensive gig. The team is in debt. And a sale might just be the best thing that could happen. And when I say that, I want to also reflect, this has been an incredible run by this ownership group, Ron Fowler, Peter Seidler, and then on through Eric Kutsenda and John Seidler here recently.
Are we talking about selling the whole stake of the team, just part of the team, percentages? Then, if you start hearing things like venture capitalists, groups of investors, fans are know by now to be worried.
Yeah, I don't think there's a reason to be worried necessarily, though that is an absolutely valid response, because the unknown is huge. But we can get into why there's not a reason to worry. Whoever buys this team, and look, exploring your options could be anything from, hey, they decide they found someone to buy just enough of it, but that's not going to happen. What's going to happen is someone's going to come in and buy enough of the team to be the control person, so to take over the running of the team. Now, there are 10 to 12 different people that have ownership stakes, so it's going to be a matter of how many want to sell. And the Seidlers own 20%. The Peter Seidler's trust owns 24%, and so that leaves another 55+% that is owned by a bunch of other people. But whoever. The end result is going to be that the person or company, fund that buys the Padres will be the control person, is virtually certain.
When something like this happens, and given the state of professional sports over the last decade or so, the concern for some fans immediately goes to, they can't take the team out of San Diego, can they? That's not on. That's not an option. I don't even know how to phrase that, because you know what? After 55 years, nobody thought the Chargers would actually do it, and they did. Where does that stand, in your opinion?
Let's start with that the lease at Petco Park runs through 2033. And then let's go to the Padres ranked second in attendance this year, broken attendance records 3 years in a row. The commissioner has said that their team is not going to leave San Diego. I think it is roundly considered that this is one of the best markets. And as long as any of us who've been here long enough know that it takes winning and it takes excitement for people to come back year after year. So as long as the commitment is there from ownership, there is virtually no conceivable way that someone is going to move away from Petco Park. Also, this, we don't have time to get into that. There's just only so many markets you could go to, and it would be ridiculous to leave San Diego.
I wanted to ask you about any early on interested suitors already, because by the time this gets out into the media, obviously this stuff has been in the works. You mentioned that 55%. We know the Seidler name. Who is this 55%, and what names do we know in that side of it that might be interested in taking over?
I don't know that there is anyone, and probably the only one really capable would be Alfredo Harpelou. And, he might be the second or the largest shareholder outside of anyone involved with the Seidler family. I don't think there's anyone currently involved with the team that is going to step in here. This is going to be, we are out of the Seidler family, the Spanos family realm of sports team owners. This is now where people with real money, hedge funds, big groups come in.
Yikes.
But, well, the Dodgers are owned by a group that has an awful lot of money.
That's right.
That is probably what Padres fans should be rooting for, is something like that. It's been, as I said, when I say all this and I talk about the future and how good it might be, I want to make sure I stress again how positive this ownership group, starting with Ron Fowler, coming all the way through to John Seidler, by the way, and certainly Peter Seidler. This has been an incredible story. They've done an incredible job. But what you really want is somebody who can write checks.
That's the point. And you mentioned, we don't know what the Shield-Seidler lawsuit really had a part in this. I have a feeling they were probably looking to sell before even that happened. What happens to the front office when something like this happens? I mean, I would imagine new ownership comes in, they clean house like they do in most other places. When a big corporation comes in, takes over something, they make changes.
Perhaps, but again, we are in the middle of 4 playoff runs in 6 years. We're in the middle of the Padres rank, I believe, 6th in Major League Baseball here for a few years in a row in local revenue. That's non-media, because we know that their media rights are out the window pretty much. So, like Eric Grupner, the CEO of the Padres, I believe his contract is now through 2029. He has an equity stake in the team. AJ Preller's about to get extended. Are these guarantees? Someone who comes in and pays whatever they're going to pay for this could probably afford to buy those guys out. But every indication and common sense says that these guys get a chance to continue to run the team, because you know what? Like the Padres are one of the model franchises.
They really are.
And I don't know if Padres fans really understand that or believe it, because we tend to focus on the flaws of, our closest, of our family, right? And those that we know about. But take a look around. Take a look around Petco Park when you're there. Travel around to every other venue like I do every year.
Yes.
And you will see and you will hear how well run the Padres are on the business side. And then look at the results on the baseball side. So I don't know that that's necessarily true, Raul.
Okay. I mean, anybody who's been to Petco, and even before these families took over, the fact that Petco is so packed says a lot about how they're running this team. Lastly, I'm just going to ask in terms of the Tatis rumors, because the Tatis trade rumors, if you will, start, and then this bombshell. He's not going anywhere, in your opinion? Or, I mean, always the saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. Is there or no?
Right. In my opinion, doesn't hold much water, but my educated speculation, which is based on talking to people that are in the know and comparing what they say with each other and all that. And I can tell you he's not going anywhere now. Look, I hate even responding to that. I hate even responding to these things, but sometimes things get legs, and you want to ease people's fears and also put it into context. Fernando Tatis Jr., if this team, let's say, were to fall on some hard times in the future, they've got other big contracts, and Fernando Tatis Jr. could help trading him could help them out in 2028, 29, 30. Well, yeah, sure, that could happen. But as far as Fernando Tatis Jr. being anywhere close to the trade block right now, I absolutely do not believe that to be true.
Listen, you brought up a great point. I've seen you around the country in a couple of the stadiums where you're at, that I've been traveling a little bit. And, like the National Stadium was empty, the D-back Stadium was empty, and it's like you come to Petco Park, the energy is there. Kevin A.C., we thank you for taking the time and picking up our phone call. You're the man.
Right on. Take care.
Appreciate you.